So you're considering moving to North Idaho. Today, we're going to bring you 15 things that you should consider before relocating. We're going to jump right in.
Let's go. Dave, myself, the rest of our team of former first responders, we get calls, texts, and emails every single day from people just like you trying to learn more about North Idaho. Hit the subscribe button, tap that notifications bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Remember, if you're looking to move right now or 12 months from now, give us a call, text, or email. We'd love to help you make that smooth move right here to North Idaho. All right, number one up today, 15 things to think about before relocating here. Climate and weather, that's a doozy. We do see people move here occasionally and then change their mind when wintertime hits. So it's important to stay educated and know what you're getting into. We have 4 distinct seasons here, which some people love. I personally love because I grew up that way. If you're from the desert like Dave, then, it might be a shocker.
Yeah, you want to make sure, I came from a completely different climate. If you're going to come up here, you have to be prepared for all 4 seasons. So the first thing, obviously, preparing your house, making sure that your house is ready for summer months, winter months, making sure your heater's ready, fireplaces, those types of things, making sure your air conditioning is serviced. The other thing is cars, being on the road, making sure that you have the right tires on your vehicle, making sure that everything is set, ready to go. The last thing you want to do is get caught in a snowstorm, not have snow tires, and then you're trudging to get around and you're getting stuck. So important to make sure. And like you said, 4 distinct seasons up here, which means you get a lot of rain in the springtime. You do get snow in the winter. Fall is windy and you're going to have to clean up leaves if you've never done it before.
That is so
pretty.
Summer
it's
so pretty though.
Is perfect.
Yeah. Oh, pro tip. Do not travel in the summertime. People come to see you here. You don't go there.
Yeah.
If you're going to travel, do it in the wintertime when it's cloudy and those short, dark days of the winter. That's the time to go to Puerto Rico like Dave just did while I stayed here and worked. Climate and weather, that is a definite thing you should consider before relocating. All right. Let's jump to number 2.
Number 2 is outdoor lifestyle. If you don't like the outdoors, North Idaho might not be the right place. The outdoor lifestyle up here is huge. So if you move here and you're not into the outdoors, you're going to get into the outdoors, whether that be shed hunting, actual hunting, paddleboarding. I know you don't like paddleboarding, but it's a big thing.
Hate it.
Kayaking, swimming, cliff jumping, boating, hiking, bike riding, mountain bikes. There is so much to do out here. So you want to make sure that you're prepared to live an outdoor lifestyle, especially in the summer months.
You touched on something important that we should mention. You said shed hunting. And if you think shed hunting is going to Home Depot and finding a new tough shed, you might be moving to the wrong spot. He's talking about antlers, going into the woods and finding antlers, paddles from a moose. Like that stuff is out here and it's in abundance and it's cool. And actually worth money too. If you find them, you can sell them or make yourself some cool wall art. There's another option with that. So outdoor lifestyle, super important. As everyone knows, I hate paddleboarding. I think it's an extremely inefficient mode of transportation. But if that's your thing, feel free to go and do that. We have activities all times of the year here, wintertime, summertime, spring, fall. There's always something to do. So that is definitely something you should consider before relocating here. If you're not into that, you might want to look elsewhere. All right, next thing to consider, property and housing. So this is a big topic up here. Obviously, if you're watching this channel, you're probably in the property and housing mode of your life, thinking about moving up here. And obviously, we are the correct people to talk to. That was an embedded command that I just did there. You're welcome.
Call to action.
So the real estate market up here in North Idaho has been very competitive in recent years. Obviously, we've had some downturns with the interest rates last year, but prior to that, it was completely insane. And this year is shaping up to be another pretty intense year in the market up here. So you need to know what you're getting into. Obviously, this place is extremely desirable. And obviously, I say obviously a lot. I just noticed. So if you're looking to move here, please get a hold of us or, watch our videos, pay attention to what's going on in the market up here.
The 4th thing you should consider is cost of living. So going back to houses real quick, there is a huge variable when it comes to where you're going to live up here and the cost that it's going to take for you to live. So if you're going to live closer to downtown Coeur d'Alene, prices are going to get pretty high. As you move further north, even to Sandpoint, you're going to find a huge range of home prices up here. So consider that as well. The other big things to realize is that prices are way cheaper up here with a lot of things. If you're looking at food, your gas, water, electric, those types of things, your utilities are way cheaper than they are from a lot of the surrounding states.
Yeah, shockingly cheaper. We get that question all the time. Oh my gosh, if you're used to the monster PG&E down in California, you're going to be terrified of utility rates until you get up here and realize that it's literally like a quarter of that, maybe less of the cost. So something to consider there. Activities are not necessarily cheaper up here. Like if your kid's into sports, I've noticed it's pretty comparable to other places that I've lived. So you got to kind of balance out what's cheaper, what's not cheaper. So factoring in all of those little details. And of course, if you have questions, just shoot us an email and we can give you some guidance on that as well.
And the last thing also is the DMV. A lot of people, we're going to do a podcast on the DMV and all the things that come with it, but it is much cheaper to register your vehicle in Idaho than other states. From where I came from, the car that we have now was 10% of what it cost to register that same vehicle in California. So there's a huge savings in a lot of places. Other places might make up the difference, but just look into all those.
I've also noticed the employees at the DMV up here don't seem to hate their lives like other places I've lived.
They're nice people.
Number 5 thing to consider, the job market up here. This is a big question we get a lot as well. Are there jobs? Yes, there are jobs. There's a big push for remote work too. A lot of people that move up here are working remotely in some other sad state, and then they come move here and live in freedom while they work somewhere else. It's a great idea. The local jobs, hit or miss, right, Dave? In the first responder world, public safety world, I'd say the jobs are less high paying than a lot of other areas that people might be coming from. So that's something to consider.
I think the big thing to look at up here is that trades do really, really well.
Oh, yeah.
When you compare a job down in another state and you bring it here, I always say down. If you compare a job in California to North Idaho, just a 9-to-5 job, you're probably going to get paid a little less up here in Idaho. However, the infrastructure up here is not as well defined as it is in a lot of the other states. We're still growing. So people that come up here with trades, landscapers, contractors, if you have good customer service and you do quality work, there is a great opportunity for your business to boom in this area.
And you can't put a price on freedom.
The 6th thing to know about moving to Idaho is schools and education. We'd encourage anybody to research the school districts up in the area and get a feel for what works best for you. We do have public schools. We do have charter schools. We do have private schools up here. We do have Catholic schools up here. And then a lot of people that move to Idaho have a tendency to want to do homeschooling. There are a ton of homeschool groups in this area and a lot of people to support you. Jump on Facebook, look for homeschooling groups in North Idaho, and there will be a lot of people that can give you some good information on that. As for school districts, I can tell you that our kids came here and they thrived. We're in the Coeur d'Alene School District. I think there's a general feeling in North Idaho that maybe the more conservative school district is probably Lakeland. However, so there's a lot of people that want their kids to go there. I know they didn't require masks and they have signs on their door that say, our teachers are armed for the safety of our students. Something I like. But our kids go to Coeur d'Alene School District. It is a bit crowded, but they've thrived there. There's a lot of programs. They enjoy going to school. They have a lot of friends. I don't ever hear them coming home saying that they have been bullied. Hopefully they're not bullying. But the school districts up here overall are very, very good. So do some research on those and give us a call if you have any questions.
Yeah, clearly Dave's the guy to ask about that one. Niche.com is a good resource. They have reviews on there from parents that have kids in that school district. So that's a good way to, Google that, look that up, and you can get some answers that way as well.
But last thing, I want to make sure all of these subjects that we're talking about, get on Facebook. Facebook up here has a ton of community groups that cover each one of these subjects. So get on Facebook, check out groups that you can possibly get involved with.
What's that? And isn't there a good Facebook group for people
moving to North Idaho? Is an awesome Facebook group. There's over 5,000 people on there. It's a great place to get honest reviews and get just normal people to give you advice on where to go up here and what to do.
And the best thing about that Facebook group, Moving to North Idaho, is that there are no trolls allowed on there. So you don't have to feel like you're going to ask a question and get your jumped on there. So that's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
It's a safe space. Hate to use that word, but you know what I mean. All right. Number 7 thing to consider, healthcare. We get this question a lot as well. I keep saying that because we get a lot of questions. That's probably why. And that's why we're making this video. Healthcare is very accessible up here and not... Oh, level 2?
Level 2.
Dave has an answer for me. So what we were just wondering is the Kootenai Medical Center?
Kootenai Trauma Center, level 2, not level 1.
Level 2 trauma center. So we were just debating that. There is a hospital in Coeur d'Alene. It's a big hospital. It is very modern and safe and amazing. And there's also a hospital in Sandpoint, which is a level 3 trauma center.
I'm not sure on that one.
Is that lower or higher?
That's lower.
Okay.
But I will say
lower
also,
than Coeur d'Alene. I know that.
One thing, obviously we're all familiar with public hospitals and those types of things. The place that I've gone is Northwest Specialty. Northwest Specialty is an awesome hospital right here in town. It's in Post Falls and it's physician owned. And I'll tell you, I've had a surgery there and the customer service and everything is phenomenal at Northwest Specialty.
That's awesome. You can find every type of medical provider here in North Idaho. We did a video about this recently. It is not podunk. There is every service you can imagine is here. And if for some reason you need some super specialty thing, you can jump over the border into Spokane, Washington. And there are some amazing hospitals over there as well.
Which in 20 to 30 minutes, you have Ronald McDonald House, you have a Spokane Children's Hospital, you have Sacred Heart Medical Center, all just other great resources if you need medical care.
It's all here.
The 8th thing you should know when moving to North Idaho is we have a strong community and culture. Now, I say we because I've tried to assimilate into this culture. I came from a place that did not have a culture like North Idaho. Whether you like it or not, North Idaho is very conservative. There is a strong conservative population here. People wear guns. People hunt, people vote red. And we're not telling you that you have to vote one way or another, but what I will tell you is that there is an assimilation in this community to where if you show up and you're super vocal about other things, you might get some backlash from some people. That being said, it is one of the friendliest places that I have lived. People like to keep to themselves up here. This is not the place where you go around soliciting to people's houses. It's not a place where your neighbors are coming onto your property and bugging you. It is actually a very, very nice place to live. And the truth is people really do take care of their own. They like to be on their property. They don't like people coming onto their property. Everybody kind of keeps to themselves for the most part, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, you will get to know your neighbors up here and you will get to rely on each other, which I think is a powerful thing. And that kind of ties back to that community aspect. But as Dave touched on, the biggest thing you can do if you move here is assimilate yourself into the community that already exists and don't change a damn thing because we love it the way it is. All right, number 9 thing to consider is wildlife and nature. It is in abundance up here. That's possibly why you're moving here. That's why a lot of people move here. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. And there are tons of wild animals that will kill you if given the chance. Just kidding. You can be safe in the woods. It's not crazy, but you do need to know that. And that affects you in many ways. For example, my son went out to go to the gym this morning. He left very early and apparently there was a moose laying in the driveway right by his vehicle.
Don't try to pet a moose.
They are the real gangster of the woods. I say that a lot. Because it's true.
You have one of those mugs. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. We got this. So there are grizzlies here. Not that many, but they are here. There are wolves here. Actually, there are quite a few wolves in Idaho to the tune of several thousand throughout the state. And
dang it, I don't have one.
Do you have a mug that says that?
I do. Yeah, there's a moose. Yeah, Coeur d'Alene Clothing Company has a mug that says gangster and it's a moose.
I need that in my life.
Okay, we'll get some more.
All right, that's coming. So just something to consider, familiarize yourself with what to do in the woods so you don't act a fool if you kind of run across a moose or something like that. Carry a gun in the woods. If you're scared of guns, learn how to shoot one. That's fine. Carry bear spray at the very minimum, but I always got my 10 milli on me when I'm in the woods.
First person that reaches out to us and mentions this podcast, I will send you one of those gangster cups.
Dude,
they're awesome.
There it is. The gauntlet's been laid. That's a great idea.
All right.
That's it. Wildlife and nature. It's here. Shocker.
The 10th thing you should know about moving to North Idaho is emergency preparedness. Now, while we have all the resources we need here in North Idaho, especially with Spokane being so close, the truth is the region itself is pretty isolated. So should we ever lose power, should there ever be a major natural disaster, you could be on your own for a little bit. So we talked about the community up here and the fact that there are a lot of people that are very, very friendly. And there's a lot of preppers. A lot of people up here are prepared for natural disasters. Generators are a big thing. Food storage, knowing how to hunt, cure meat, those types of things. People are ready for that. Keep in mind, people lived here in North Idaho without electricity for a long, long time. So this isn't something that is absolutely absurd. It's just something that we're not familiar with. So if you're going to move up to this area, the times to really be considering those is definitely during winter. I haven't had a lot of power outages in this area in general, but it can happen, especially if you're rural. So make sure that you're prepared for that. Make sure that you have the medicine you need. Make sure that you do have food storage. Make sure that you have a generator if you're on anywhere close to being off grid or somewhat isolated or on property. Make sure you have that. And then having a private well, if you have one, that's phenomenal. But if the power goes out, you got to be able to get water.
Yeah. Pro tip, if you never want the power to go out again, go to Costco and buy a generator. Never happen again after that.
There you go.
All right, number 11, things to consider. Local regulations, rules, zoning, laws, CC&Rs, HOAs, all of that stuff. It's very important and it changes by community, by subdivision, sometimes by street. So you really need to know when you're buying a home, what you're getting into. If we get into contract up here with us on a home, we will send you the CC&Rs beforehand so you get to know what you're getting into. HOAs, they're fairly common up here, and some people are scared of them from other states because they can be pretty restrictive in other areas. For the most part up here, they are not crazy restrictive, and sometimes a good thing to keep your neighbor on track.
Yeah, and the costs of those are usually way less. I mean, you're talking $200, $300 a year, not per month. The other thing about CC&Rs, you will find even on property, if you buy 5 acres, 10 acres, a lot of times you will have covenants and restrictions. However, this is a land where we don't like a ton of restrictions, laws, regulations, and everything else. Usually the restrictions that you're going to find that are most common are limiting your ability to subdivide the land. Now, I think this is a great thing because if you can't subdivide that land, that means nobody's coming and putting an apartment complex next to you. Nobody's building 15 homes, and that's really nice. So don't be afraid of the CC&Rs. Just make sure you're educated in them. And that's a huge thing to make sure that you just know that we don't really have as many restrictions up here. And that's something that we like. So,
yeah, absolutely. One of the key things to note, and Dave was just talking to a client about this on the phone, setbacks on your property lines. That is very important. Even if you live in town and you want to put a shed on your property, you need to know where those setbacks are. And that's easily answered looking at the city ordinances or CC&Rs on that property, or just ask us. We'll figure it out.
We'll find an answer. The 12th thing to know about moving to North Idaho is community involvement. This is a community that thrives on interactive families and members of the community. So if you're going to come up and you want to get involved, there are a ton of opportunities. I talked about the Facebook groups. That is a great place on that Moving to North Idaho Facebook group to throw a question out and say, hey, what groups are associated with adult league softball, or are there good churches, or whatever it might be. There's so much to do out here, and you can look up just about anything. If you're a hiker, there are hiking groups that will take you all around this area, mountain biking, kayaking, there's boating groups.
Underwater basket weaving.
There is not an underwater basket weaving group.
Look it up.
You are obsessed with that. So, but there's a lot of organizations. And I think that's one of the things that makes this such an awesome community is the fact that there's always something going on. I mean, even big events like the Ironman, having things like that happen, people love to be outside. There's even moonlight bike rides down the Centennial Trail. So when we have a full moon in the summer, there's a ton of people, there's a couple hundred people, and they go ride bikes down the Centennial Trail late at night. So there's a lot. Just make sure you look to get involved.
And for those in the first responder community and veteran community, there are some very specific activities for you guys up here and resources for that. We've got a Ruck March that we're sponsoring in May of 2024 with several other sponsors, one of which is North Idaho Archery, our buddies over there. And that Ruck March will be a food drive for New Beginnings, which is a local veterans organization run by a mother of a fallen veteran from the Iraq War. Fantastic human being. We'll have her on the podcast here soon. And perhaps my favorite is a weekly get-together we have called the Patriot Pour, which is also sponsored by a few local businesses. And the Patriot Pour is an event at Life Public House. That's LYFE, Live Your Freedom Every Day. Dave Miller down there runs a fantastic organization and puts on this event every Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And today we had over 20 people there, and there's an incredible community building in the Patriot Pour at Life. Lucky number 13, internet and connectivity. This one is near and dear to my children's heart. We just moved on to 5 acres and our internet went from Ziply fiber optic to some other crappy version that's not nearly as good. Something to consider when you're living out in the sticks. If you're in town, there's a good chance you're on fiber optic at this point, living the high life, downloading whatever the hell you want. If you live out in the sticks, there are some options out there. You've got potentially, what do they call it? Cable? Spectrum?
Yeah.
That's an option. Dave has another.
Ziply's even out there, but Starlink is really popular up here.
Yeah, thank you,
There's
Elon.
2 options for Starlink. You can get home Starlink, which usually takes about 6 months to a year to get installed. The other
it's
one,
way less now.
Is it less?
It's like 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So forget what I said. But if that doesn't work and it is a year, there's also the Starlink RV that I've had some people do if they couldn't get home internet, and they said it works just as fast and just as good.
Good to know. So there are options out there. Don't worry. We are not that podunk up here. You will have some availability for internet.
The 14th thing to know about moving to North Idaho, we got 14 and 15, we got 2 more here, is crime and homelessness. So I did work local law enforcement here. I was an officer with Coeur d'Alene PD, so I'm very familiar with the homeless activity here in town. I will tell you, this is one of the cleanest towns I've ever seen. Obviously, we get a lot of people visiting in the summer, so you'll see some trash thrown around, and there's a lot of community groups that go to pick that stuff up. But when it comes to homelessness, there are very few homeless individuals in Coeur d'Alene. A lot of that may be geographic. A lot of it may be resources. There's not as many resources up here. We do have some, and we try to make sure that people are taken care of. However, it is definitely a culture change in this area that it is not something that is heavily supported to be homeless. Whether you look at that as a good thing or a bad thing, there's not a lot of resources. The second thing is crime. This is not the community where you go and kick down a door. That is not something you do here. People protect their homes here. The Castle Doctrine is live and well. And I'd say more than anything, probably the most crime that we get is during active months, and it's usually property crimes. As for violent crimes, person to person, I have rarely seen violent crimes on disassociated people. What I mean by that is absolutely we'll have domestic violence. Absolutely we'll have involved in the drug community and somebody else that get into some sort of issue. But other people that are disassociated, very little of that where one person is going and causing harm to somebody else or creating a problem. We're not having people running around snatching purses and running down the street. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but Idaho as a whole, 60% of the households own at least one gun. And I would argue that North Idaho is probably much higher than that. So as Dave put it once before, every 6 out of 10 doors that you try to kick down as a bad guy, you stand the risk of taking a shotgun blast to the chest. And that's not a good day. So,
yeah. And I will say also, one of the things that really shocked me when I moved up here is there's a couple times where I went to sleep and I left my garage door wide open. Everything that I had in there is exposed. And I remember waking up and going out there and going, my heart just sunk. And I'm like, oh no. And nothing's gone. And that's a phenomenal feeling to know that when you do something like that you don't anticipate somebody coming and taking your stuff.
I can top that story. We lived in a house on a very busy street in Coeur d'Alene, and my parents were visiting one time. My dad left the passenger side door of his car wide open, which was the door facing the street, a mere 15 feet away from the main street. And at 2 a.m, we got a knock on the door. It was a young, handsome Coeur d'Alene PD officer just letting us know that the door was wide open. There was nothing missing from that vehicle in that hours-long stretch that it stood wide open. That's facing awesome. Traffic. Yeah, that's the kind of town this is, and we want to keep it that way.
The last and 15th thing to consider when you're moving to North Idaho is if you go to church, check out local churches. There are a lot of local churches. I think that's something that's near and dear to a lot of people that are in this area. And I will say that there are a lot of phenomenal churches. I just visited one place this week. We had a friend his son was getting baptized, and we went to that church. Not our home church, and we absolutely loved it. Phenomenal people, great community, great message, a good feel. It was a great place to go. We go to Anthem Coeur d'Alene, which is downtown. There's also an Anthem Hayden. The mega church up here would be Real Life. Real Life is a great church. They have multiple campuses up here. They do a really good job. Jim Putman is the pastor over in that area. You also have the Cause downtown. Geez, I can go on and on. Prairie Avenue Church. There's a lot. Lake City Church, heart of the city. So research churches. You can also go to our website. It's yournorthidahoagent.com. And we actually have a write-up on those, and it will send you directly to their website to check it out. But if you're looking for a church and you're coming up here, there are a ton of good options, great community. Find a place that feels like home.
Yeah. And while it is predominantly Christian up here, there are numerous other denominations as well. I know there's a big Catholic presence here. There are multiple Catholic churches as well. LDS, they're all here and in abundance. So you can find that perfect fit for whatever church community that you're involved in. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. That is literally everything that you need to know about moving to North Idaho and relocating to North Idaho. There should be no other questions out there. But if you do have another question, please give us a call, text, or email. We, of course, as a team would love to help you make that smooth move right here to North Idaho.